Grade 11s, we are looking at Mechanical Assembly 2, and we're going to explore what's happening on the page here, and planning is very important. So we firstly have an exploded isometric drawing, which is this part over here, and I'm going to put a little line around it so that you can see, and this view tells you how to put the different components together. And then you have orthographic views of each of the components, and you just want to cross-reference here. So we're starting with this nut, M60 nut here, and there you have this nut, and I'm going to put it in little cubicles. Then you have a washer that's there, and then you have a stud, M16 stud over there, and then you have this component number 2, which is your bearing cap, which is that component there, and then you have component number 1, which is your base, which you're preferably going to start with. And then you have your component number 3, which is going to be this bush component there, and then the actual shaft component, which is there. So those are the components that actually make up the assembly drawing. Right, so when we are going to start, we're probably going to start with one of the main components, which is component number 1, which is your base, and then work our way through each of those. But let's go to the instructions. They request of you to draw to scale 1:1, which is full scale, 4.1, a section front view, a sectional front view seen from the arrow as you are going to view it. So all of these things that face you will be drawn first, all in an assembled way. And then we have to move to a top view, which is going to be seen from the top here. And then we will have to draw 4.3, which is a sectional left view from the left hand side. So you're going to move your positions according to the different views that we want to see. Also note that 3 faces of the M16 nut must be shown, and the construction of it. And you must insert, please, all the cutting lines, in this case the 2 cutting lines on the relevant views, which will indicate, and then no hidden detail is basically required, meaning no dash lines will be indicated in any of the views. Okay, let me start by just giving you a little sketch. So I'm going to use this, and this is where your planning comes in terms of the sketching. So when you stand here and you view that, you're probably going to have this main part, which is going to look like that there, and you're only going to draw the outline of it like that there, and then this part is going to be going, that part has a little part there, and then this part is going to be going on like that there, as you have it in this view here. And then of course you're going to have this stud going right through there, and then you're going to have your washer here and your nut probably going on there. That is that part over there. And then of course inside here you're going to have your spacer first, which is your bush, and that component there will just eventually be inserted in here, which is your shaft. So that is basically how it's going to be drawn, and then all these parts here will then be hatched. Right, that will be hatched, this will be hatched, this will be hatched, then the bush will be hatched as well. This part here, which is the nut, the washer and the stud, will not be hatched. Okay, and then of course you've got to project things here to the top, and you're going to have a top view, preferably of only that which you could see there, and obviously the construction of the nut and the washer will be visible here. And then you're going to put in the cutting line right there with arrows facing up. Why? Because the hatching details will be here, so we're taking this part away, and that's what you're going to see there. And then you are going to move then to your left view here, and you're going to project over, and you're probably going to see only that part there, which is going to be that part over there, and then you're going to see this part here, which is going to be that part over there. and then that part is going to be the hump part here and the hump part there, and then there will be some parts on the inside here which you will be able to see clearly when you do your cutting, and your cutting line you're going to put in there with your arrows facing that way there to show that this view is going to be a cut section. So that is, but there will be more detail as you unfold it, and you will see strategically throughout the development of each of the components how it will be cut. But that is the order in which it is going to take place. Now I'm going to start with that particular component, which is my base, and I'm going to draw that component on this page here, and I'm going to start here towards the bottom, more to my right. So I have my top view here, and I have my left view on my left side here. That's good space planning. My page has been set up. You can see my line is aligned to my T-square, which is firmly against the side, and this is where the entire drawing is going to unfold according to the planning that I have. So let's look at the first one with all the dimensions and apply this as my front section and that as my top, and then I can also project it to my left as well immediately. Here I've drawn the base according to the specifications here, and what I've done is that I've cut it immediately in the middle here through that hole. That's why there will be nothing there, right through, right around the semicircle and in that little slot there, and it goes right up here. It goes in between these two, so it won't affect those two holes there. So this is basically what you have there. The entire thing is cut. That's an open section here now that goes right around, and that's an open section there because of the sectional cut in the middle. This is a full section. We're going to proceed to the second component, which is basically your bearing cap on top, which lowers into the space over there. I've cut the bearing cap as well, and it slides perfectly inside this little slot here, inside that perfect little part there. Goes right around. If you look at what we have, it has been cut as well through that middle, around the curved section, and right down in the middle there. And that's basically what it looks like once you have inserted that into that part over here. Pay attention to this little detail there. It is an open section there. It's not, because of the fact that it goes a little bit around, quarter round here. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to insert the bush that goes into this area over here. And when the bush is formed here, automatically it will be the shaft space that will be created as well. So I'm going to then cut the bush, and I'm also going to cut the shaft that goes in there. I've sectioned both the bush and the shaft, because basically what I've done is that I've cut that in the middle around this here. So that's going to be hatched right around there. The middle part is air, but because this fits inside that area over there, this is cut as well right over there. That's the reason why we get different type of hatching as it is here. We turn our attention to this part over here, where we're going to insert the stud, and we're going to add the washer, and we're going to add the M60 nut into that space over there. The stud, and the stud basically starts from the bottom. It's flush here, and it goes up from here, the 48 measurement that I have on the instruction page. You're going to find that you're going to have 1.6, so it's like 2 millimeters, 1.6, so you can round it off to 2 millimeters on the inside for the threaded portion. So I've gone 2 millimeters in, and I've gone 2 millimeters in there, and I've gone 2 millimeters in there for the threaded portion. This, of course, here is the non-threaded portion, so you just need to indicate on there, according to the specifications here, that it is the non-threaded portion. So threaded portion goes in there and there as well onto your stud. Okay, we're going to do the washer quickly, and then we'll go and look at the nut. Inserted the washer and the hexagonal nut, and a little part of the stud is sticking out at the top. What we've done here is drawn an auxiliary view. So basically the stud is an M16. So you will have 16 basically, which is the numerical value in front of the M, times 1.5, and then that will give you 24, and that 24 is the 24 diameter that you'll see from side to side there. Or alternatively, you can use a radius by dividing that 24 by 2, which gives you 12 from there to there, which you can draw comfortably with your compass. Alternatively, it's better if you use a circle template of 24 diameter to draw that circle. This is just an auxiliary view. You can draw it any distance away here, but like I've done here with a little gap in between. I now have used my set squares and I've projected that down. This is all 60 degrees that I have here, projected that down. My height I've basically gotten from my instruction page of 13. And then of course I've done the construction here of the nut by doing that 60 degrees here, 60 degrees, arced it from there, arced it from there, arced it from there. And then that little part is a 30 degree angle with my set square as I've done. And then of course both sides and a line connecting, and then I just continued by drawing these lines or corners down onto my washer. I will then conclude this section front view by just drawing in my center lines. So I'm going to have my center lines drawn right here. It's a long short line, and it goes right through here. That's my center there, and part of it will be here as well, center. Okay, just there to show that this is a cylindrical shape, and that is basically around that center point. You're obviously going to have a center line in this middle of the stud and washer and nut as well, like that there. Okay, and that basically concludes this view. Let's move to the top view, which is very easy. I'm going to do the top view of only the part that I see here on top, with the nut and the washer and the little stud that will be visible. All other components will not be visible. So my top view basically just gives me the parts that are visible. So we're starting with this component here, which is basically the main bracket component, the base as it's stated on the instruction page. And then you will have the bearing cap, which is the entire section here, which is visible from the top here. There's the hump, which we see there, and the corners that are formed. Then you won't be able to see the bush inside, and there's no hidden details required. But you do, however, see the shaft coming through, and they tell you only need to draw 80 millimeters of the shaft, which basically means that the shaft continues. There are the S brakes here, both top and bottom, or should I say both sides of my top view. Then of course we have the washer that comes from this projection here. That's the washer, and then we have the nut with the basic stud that's visible here. So this hexagonal nut is turned onto this part here, which is the stud, and the washer is in between the nut and the bearing cap here as well. So, and then finally we've had the cutting line here, AA, which is right in the middle here, creating this cut here. And then we've put in the cutting line simultaneously for BB, which is going to have an impact on this side that we are going to do now. This basically concludes the section left view. So you can see that the cutting line runs right here. So it cuts through that part over there, which is that part over there. It cuts through the bottom part, which is that part over there, and the bush, both top and bottom of the bush. You will find that the hatching of this one, they are different, but the bush, they are the same. The hatching parts are the same because that is one component. It goes around the shaft. The shaft does not take hatching, but because it has S brakes, that little part there actually does. This means it continues longer than what it is on the page. Don't forget the back part here. There are two holes inside this part here where the cutting does not actually show the holes because it cuts in the middle. There you will see the cut is in the middle. You would have had dash lines here, dash lines there, but no dash lines required for these drawings. But you need to ensure that you put in the holes as it is visible from this side that we are viewing it. Right, and that basically ends it off with the last center line, which we just have here in the middle. All these center lines are extremely important, and that basically concludes your drawing assembly 2.